Let me repeat. Ideas, so they're important. We don't want to use and, we don't want to use probably a comma. We're just going to insert what? A colon. Let's look at this one. She went by train. It's just a complete idea. This is what happened. Then colon. She went by train. I'm pausing a little bit longer than the colon, and then she would rather have flown. It's another idea, two different ideas, but both of them are actually important. It is also used to join two main clauses when there is no conjunction. What do we mean by conjunction, my dear? And the and, the so, the for, the list is actually endless over there. So now it's two main clauses. What does that mean? You know, these actually they can stand on their own, but it is used to join them. Let's look at this one. She worked hard for their examinations. You know, if you wanted, probably we could just say full stop. But then we are saying we are going to use a semicolon to just join these two, main clauses. And then we are saying she had nothing to fear. That's a complete idea. It's a complete thought, my dear Elena. So these two have actually been joined using a semicolon. So now I'm sure you will pay particular attention as we move on actually to these. And definitely the famous one, unfortunately the one which is mostly abused by students most of the time, it is the comma, my dear Elena, at home. Now, what do we use the comma for? First of all, as you know, it is for inventory purposes. We are listing items in a series. It's kind of like more a bit with the colon. You inserted it, then you're going to, use a comma over there. So inventory purposes. For example, I'm going to, this morning I'm planning to go to Mbabane, Manzini, then definitely Sitegi. So the comma over there has actually been used. It was also used for additional information. Did you know that, my dear Lena, in a sentence? Remember, when we are doing summary writing in reading and writing, it is usually exercise 5, my dear Lena, at home. One advice that we usually give to you is what? Avoid additional information when you are picking up a point for summary writing. So now you're going to see how that additional information is usually actually not so needed after all. So it's for additional information in a sentence. For example, Mr. Lamini, the principal, addressed the pupils and parents. Which information is it that we can actually do without? It's either we say Mr. Lamini addressed the pupils and parents, or we say the principal addressed the pupils and parents. I'm sure you can see now how monotonous it becomes, when you have to repeat one of the same. Well, you could do without this, but you decide to put it anyway. And please, please, please apply this skill in summary writing. Avoid additional information when you are picking up a point. We will deal with that later when we focus on summary. It is also used to separate introductory words or phrases from the rest of the sentence. In other words, probably it could be a subordinate from the main clause. Okay, of which means now we are saying one can stand on its own if it's the main clause. The other, by virtue of the word subordinate, it cannot stand on its own. So it separates that information or introductory material in a sentence. Let's look at this one once again. I was ignored by the TV crew, not these lovely people, by the way, my dear Lena, at home, in case you're wondering. Now, so once again, we can do without that, okay? We can just say, I was ignored by the TV crew. Okay, so let's look at a subordinate. Once again, can it stand on its own? No. There is additional information which we need, my dear Lena. So you can see that the comma is one important also punctuation device when we are reading a text. And definitely the exclamation marks, we use them most of the time, but have you ever wondered what is their effect or their role in a sentence or in a text? The very basic use is what? Now they are used after exclamations or interruptions. And obviously, ouch, you cannot just say ouch. It's going to ouch, and the intonation tells you that, oh, I'm going to exclaim at the end. They also strengthen the tone of a statement, the tone, the voice. We've talked about purpose, we've talked about the voice before, we've talked about language, we've talked about sentence structure. So the tone now, my dear Lena. For example, the mother yelled, come back. We cannot say the mother yelled, come back. No, there's nothing nice. There's nothing interesting here. If it's a yelling, it's going to be accommodated. The exclamation says this statement is actually said emotively. So there is the tone, the voice behind this. It's actually kind of like saying, you know what? I am not so excited at all. And then we are saying it's used after sentences or phrases containing emotions like I've actually mentioned before. My dear learner at home. An apostrophe, mostly ignored, mostly ignored, but it is so important. All right, now, what is an apostrophe? This little, some sort of a comma, but it's up there. It's an apostrophe. Okay, my dear learner, now, what is it used for? To show possession. Futi's glasses. Felicia's glasses, as you can see it here. Okay. It is also used when we are omitting words of letters, okay, or words. Remember, in informal writing, we've been dealing with that not so long ago. We use don't, okay, it's contractions. But if it's formal text, we do not use that. So this is so important, my dear, and I'm so excited by this lesson, because from now onwards, I'm sure you are going to be, using them in your writing. You will think about everything before you actually, what am I going to use this device for? And then definitely we have quotation marks, which are used to indicate the exact words of a speaker, For example, I'm missing my friend, said Veleswa. This is all about me. Okay, it's direct. It's all about me. And I'm sure already you are seeing the apostrophe, the usage of it over there, my dear learner. Now, earlier on I mentioned the italics, I mentioned the dash and the hyphen, We'll get time to actually expound on those, okay, my dear learner, in upcoming lessons, that is in the future. I want us now to read and punctuate the following passage. Now you know the punctuation devices, which must be used, which must not be ignored. Now look at this. Does it even make sense to you? Definitely it doesn't, mate. It's just a list of words. You don't know where to start. You do not know where to end. So it's just words. It doesn't mean anything right now. So we have to punctuate this passage together, my dear learner. So get ready. If you're carrying your Enjoy English, this is actually page 13 in your Enjoy English text. That is the text which is in Form 4. Now let's go through together. Unusual Bollywood Inspiration in Africa by Felicia Strong. It's probably the most unusual Bollywood inspired toy ever said. My dear, my voice should tell you I need to pause somewhere. Now you see the use of a comma or any punctuation device. We need this. We need to pause at one particular point in time. We need to make sense of this. Yes, the title over there, it looks so interesting, but it's not interesting unless we actually write it the correct way. So let us move on. And I'm sure by now you've just decided, okay, this capital letter and stuff like that. Definitely we'll start with the basics, my dear. Let's just start with the capital letter and then we'll come with the rest. Where do we start? Now definitely the topic or the title. What do we say? We capitalize unusual Bollywood. Oh, someone could have said Bolly, but now it makes sense. Bollywood inspiration in Africa. It's a name of it's a name of a country. Then by. Somebody could be asking Felicia, supposed to be capitalized. Felicia Strong. It's a name of a person. It's not just strong as an adjective, but this is a name. So it's going to be capital what? Capital S and capital F. Now you can tell, oh, this is actually an article. Okay, maybe from a magazine. Could it be from a newspaper? Not so sure, but probably a magazine. I will tell you why shortly, my dear learner at home. Let us move on. So it's our title. It is so interesting. Now we are looking actually forward to reading this. Let's move now. It's supposed to be it's capital and then apostrophe. Informal writing, my dear learner, as we've actually mentioned. Okay, so now you know it's informal. Most of the chances are it's probably an article from a magazine. All right, now it's probably the most unusual. Okay, we capitalize Bollywood inspired tour ever. Now this is said emotively. We are going to say dash. All right, my dear learner, ever. Okay, and then a set of Chinese American twins, comma, because now we are listing 2 German French capitalized sisters, okay, and a girl. If you wanted here, probably we could have used a comma, but we just decided to use and to make this more of a compound sentence. But actually the whole sentence is kind of like what? Complex, my dear Lena. And a girl from Italy meeting up in Kenya, capitalized in Africa, to learn Bollywood dancing and singing and taking it on tour for fundraising. There should be a full stop right now, my dear Lena, at home. So I'm sure right now you can tell that, now it, in a way, it kind of like makes some sense in what we are doing. We understand and we have respected where respect is actually due. So let's continue, my dear Lena. Now, what are we saying right here? So we are saying the very first one, let's read this one. We wanted to help raise funds in whatever way we could. Yet, previously it says somebody was actually reporting, and then it says we. Now the speaker is actually what? Involved now. So this is supposed to be what? Direct speech. Now this is what we are going to do. This first, and then we. Remember, if it's direct speech, we begin it by doing what? We actually have to make sure that we begin with a capital letter. So we wanted to help raise funds in whatever way we could, okay, comma, and we start with the performances, all right, in pop, another comma, additional information, all right, we are being given more, all right, but there again, Indian community in Kenya, all right, inspired us to look at Bollywood again, okay, which became, in this case, Bollywood, which became, again, why are we using a comma here? Which became, this is more information. It is also more of a subordinate clause, sort of, because nothing can just start which became. So it is dependent on the main clause. All right, now, which became a real hit. Full stop. At least you are posing. Have you closed there? No, because it looks like this person is still just talking. This is direct speech. Okay, so full stop, and then we start. Now again, remember, a sentence begins with a capital letter. All right, now that's about all we do with Indian songs, okay, and dances, all right, as our forte, comma, another idea, all right, another clause, all right, because now this is what? A conjunction of some sort. Now, although we do some Spanish and Arabic items as well, now as well, you see, said. So now there is said. Said is telling us this is actually what? Direct speech. So what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to be like this, comma, and then we close. Then said who? Michael. This is the name of somebody. McNally. All right. Again, should we have a full stop? No. Now, comma, what do we say? Speaking for the group calling itself the New Bet. This is the name of a group, my dear Lena. See, I have used ellipses, the 3 dots. What do these dots mean, my dear Lena at home? They mean that, what do they say? It is to be continued. There is more. And if you're carrying your Enjoy English right now, there is another, paragraph which is actually following, which is what your assignment right now, my dear Lena, that you punctuate the very last part of this text. Okay, so now you have seen how important it is that we actually do what? We punctuate a text, not because we just want to have fun, but because it has an effect on everything that we do, my dear Lena. So I beg you, each time you read a text, please make it a habit, something we do, we don't get tired of, to identify them in passages for meaningful understanding. From today, you are going to be reading with understanding every text that you are given over there. And then, this is so important, you should be able to use them in continuous writing. Remember, Mr. Kele is dealing with continuous writing. So each time you give out that story over there, you write this descriptive, you write that probably it's a letter or something, we need to see that you have understood the use of what? Of punctuation devices, my dear learner at home. These are so very important. Don't ever take them for granted. And even those, my dear, which actually I haven't talked about, all right, that is early, but they are right at the beginning. Please try and make sure that you find what is their effect, because I couldn't have bring everything right here that is to discuss with us, all right. Does it mean the one that we have used to punctuate this passage, does it mean they're important than the others? No, my dear, they are not. But like I said, the list is what? Endless. Okay, we have brackets, we have the hyphen, we have the dash, all right. Italics, like I'm telling you, do not ignore a text which has somewhere it goes with what? Italics. The speaker is saying, please pay particular attention. My dear learner, I hope you've been able to grab something from today's lesson, and it's going to be used for effect in your continued reading and writing. What do you think, Nwazi?
That was a very informative lesson. Thank you so much. We really enjoyed it. Form 4s, I hope that you enjoyed it as well. Thank you so much, and we'll be seeing you soon, I'm sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Definitely.
you. All right. Form 4s, do not go anywhere. Up next is your mathematics lesson with Ndingi Mamba. We'll be right back after this.
Malangen Lamahle, my name is Sanziso Matsebula. The world is facing a problem of domestic violence all over. Domestic violence comes in form of physical, sexual, and emotional. And the best way to help a victim is to make sure you hear, listen to them, and do believe them. We really would like to urge the nation to stop killing each other and to stop killing themselves as well. And we would like to put a stop in such activity. Stop gender-based violence.
Healing, hope, restoration. Amazing stories of real people like you who have triumphed over tragedy. Watch Turning Point International and be inspired to reach your turning point.
It really ministers to the soul of man, and as a pastor you benefit a lot because people learn, and they learn how to cope with issues probably you don't even deal with in your sermons.
It's not reality TV, it's real life TV.
Ungambulali.
Ungadibulali.
Asingabulalani.
A very warm welcome back to Home Study on Eswatini TV. My name is Nogwazi Dlamini, and this is the Form 4's turn, which is mathematics right now with Ndingi Mamba. Ndingi, how are you this afternoon?
I'm good, Gwazi. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I understand today we're doing differentiation.
Yes, Gwazi.
Okay, what are you expecting your Form 4s to have learned by the end of the lesson?
They should be able to find the derivative of polynomials with not more than 3 terms.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there anything specifically that they're going to need for this lesson?
Not really. They can bring themselves a pen, paper, where they're going to write, more especially because it is a relatively new concept in the Form 4 syllabus.
All right, okay. Form 4's pens, papers, I hope that you are ready. And Ndingi, you may please begin with your lesson.
Thank you very much, Gwazi. Good afternoon, dear Lena at home. So today we're going to be looking at differentiation, where we're going to be finding derivatives of polynomial that involve the sum of not more than 3 terms. You might wonder why do we need to do differentiation. So differentiation deals with rate of change. It analyzes the change in quantities. So it's very applicable in engineering, finance, and physics. So we really have to know what we are talking about today. So for you to follow through the lesson, you must remember, dear learner, what you covered on gradients. Remember we said gradient is the steepness of a graph or of a line. And then polynomials, you must also remember laws of indices, and you must also be in a position to be able to factorize. What is differentiation? So I've said already that differentiation deals with rate of change of quantities. And then we said we're going to differentiate polynomials, where a polynomial is an algebraic expression with at least one term. So we said algebraic, algebraic expressions are expressions that have probably an x, where a is a constant and x is a variable. So that makes an algebraic expression. So we use differentiation to find gradients of graphs at given points. That is the instantaneous rate of change. So what we know, or what we talk of, which commonly uses rate of change, is speed. So we know that speed is the rate of change of distance. So let us look at what we mean by derivatives. So we are saying, if we're given the curve of f of x is equal to x squared, so we find the gradient of the curve at the point at any point P, which has the coordinate x, y, by drawing a tangent at that particular point. And the gradient function is called the derivative function. So we said, if we have and we're asked to find the gradient at that particular point, so we say we draw a tangent, and then we find the gradient of the curve at that particular point, and that gradient function is called the derivative function, and we denote it by f prime of x, or dy dx, where d stands for the rate of change of y with respect to the rate of change of x. And then we are saying, if the the function f prime of a is the gradient of the tangent to the function y is equals to f of x at the point where x is equal to a. So we are saying differentiation then is the process of finding the derivative function. Let us look at an example. So we are saying, in general, when we differentiate, what we do is we multiply by the index, then reduce the index by 1. So this is a function y is equal to a x to the power n, where a is a constant and n is any rational number. So dy dx, it is the derivative of y with respect to x. We are saying we get that by saying a, which is the constant, times n, which is the index, and then we have x raised to the power n minus 1. So let us take that example, y is equal to 4x to the power 5, and then we are asked to find the derivative of y with respect to x. So we are saying here it's going to be, because it is y is equal to 4x to the power 5, and then we said we multiply by the index, so it's going to be equal to, so the derivative, which is dy dx, is going to be equal to 4, which is our constant, times 5, which is the index, and then x to the power 5 minus 1. So as a result, that is where we get our 20. So 20, it is the 4 times 5, which gives you 20, and then the index we subtract 1. So our answer is 20x to the power 4. So that 20x to the power 4 is our derivative, and it is a function. So such that if we want to find now the gradient at a point, say, which is 2, we can simply substitute x, which is 2, in that particular derivative, and then we're going to get the gradient of the curve at that particular point. So when we differentiate, another important thing is that when we differentiate polynomials, so we said polynomials can be a single term, it can be a number of terms. So we are saying we differentiate term by term. So let us look at this, our polynomial. So we have y is equal to x raised to the power 3. So if we differentiate that, we are going to multiply by 3, which is the index, and then x is going to be 3 minus 1, so that we get our derivative as 3x squared. And then let us now look at another example where y is equal to 5x raised to the power 3. And then we say we are asked again to differentiate. So it's going to be dy with respect to x dx. This is going to be equal to 5 times 3 x to the power 3 minus 1. So 5 times 3, this constant, is going to give us 15, and then 3 minus 1 gives us 2. So our answer is 15x raised to the power 2. Now let us look at now a function that has more than one term. So we have x squared, we have 4x, and then we have minus 12. So if we're differentiating, I said we differentiate each term. So we'll differentiate x squared. So we're going to multiply by 2 and then subtract 1 from the 2 to get 2x, and then we differentiate 4x because the power here is 1, so it's going to be 1 times 4, it gives us 4, and then 1 minus 1 gives us 0. So anything raised to the power 0, it is equivalent to 1, so we get 4. And then when it comes to a constant, we do not differentiate a constant, because a derivative, we said it gives us the gradient. So the gradient of a constant is 0. So we know that a constant does not change. There's no rate of change. So the derivative of this one is 0, the derivative of the 12, because it's a constant, so that our derivative function of y is equal to x squared plus 4x minus 12 is going to be 2x plus 4. That is our derivative. Let us proceed now and look at another example where we're differentiating. So now we have a function f of x is equal to 3x squared plus 1 over x. And then you might wonder, how then am I going to differentiate, because now we have x as a denominator. So the first thing that we have to do is to write our function in index form, so that we have a x raised to a particular power. So we know that 1 over x is the same as x raised to the power negative 1. So when you have written your expression in that form. So you have 3x squared plus x raised to the power negative 1, and then we differentiate term by term. So we're going to start with 3x squared, so it's going to be 3 times 2 giving you 6, and then 2 minus 1, it will give you x, and then we multiply by the index, so it's going to be negative 1 times 1, which gives us negative 1, and then negative 1 minus 1 gives us negative 2. So we have now our derivative as 6x minus x raised to the power negative 2. So when we write our final answer, we write it as 6x with x having in the second term, our x should have a positive index, so it's going to be 1 over x squared. We'll proceed now. Let us look at another situation now. So you have f of x being equal to, I'm sorry, Elena, the equal. So f of x is equal to 3x squared minus 2x minus 1 all over x squared. We want to differentiate. The question says let us differentiate with respect to x. So in this case now, we first have to rewrite this as individual fractions, because when they're individual fractions, we are then going to be able to write them to powers of x in index form. So this is the same as 3x squared over x squared minus 2x over x, which is this term, minus 1 over x squared. I'm sorry, dear Lena, it is 2x over x squared minus 1 over x squared. So that is our function f of x. And then you'll notice that this is going to cancel out, so we'll remain with a constant 3, and then this will cancel out 1x here, so that we remain with so it's going to be 3 minus 2 over x, and then this is going to be minus 1 over x squared. And then if we want to write this in index form, now it is going to be 3 minus 2 raised to the power, 2x raised to the power negative 1 minus x raised to the power negative 2. So once we have written it like that, we can then find the derivative. We can then differentiate. Remember, the derivative of a constant is 0 because the gradient is 0. So we start by differentiating the second term. So it's going to be negative 1 times negative 2, giving us positive 2. And then negative 1 minus 1, which is going to give us negative 2. So it's going to be 2x raised to the power negative 2. And then we differentiate the second term, the last term here. It's going to be negative 2 times negative 1, which gives us positive 2. And then minus 2 minus 1, it gives us minus 3. So the derivative is going to be 2x to the power negative 2 plus 2x to the power negative 3. So when you write your final answer, it's going to be 2x to the power negative 2 is the same as 1 over x squared, so which is the same as 2 over x squared plus 2 over x cubed. Let us proceed. Here now is another function that we are asked to differentiate with respect to x. So again, the first thing is to rewrite the function so that the powers of x. So we know that a square root in indices, it is the same as x raised to the power 1 over 2 minus 7x squared. So when we have written this in that form, we then differentiate. So finding the derivative, we multiply by half and then we subtract 1. I'm sorry here, dear Lena, it's supposed to be 1. So it's going to be half minus 1, giving us minus a half. So our first derivative is going to be half x raised to the power negative a half minus 14, which is 2 times negative 7, giving you minus 14. 2 minus 1, giving you x there. We are going to proceed now to differentiate another expression or another function. So we have now in this function, if you notice, dear Lena, we have the square root and we have x as a denominator. So we have to rewrite the powers of x. So this is going to be x raised to the power a half plus because this is x 4 over x squared, we said this is the same as x raised to the power negative 2. So which is plus 4x raised to the power negative 2. So we proceed in the way in which we are differentiating. So we said we multiply by the index and then we subtract 1. So it's going to be a half x raised to the power negative a half minus multiply there, it's going to be minus 8. So minus 2 times positive 4, which will give you minus 8. And then minus 2 minus 1, it will give you minus 3. And then we rewrite. So this is the same as 1 over the square root of x. We know that we use this to show the root that we are finding. So second root is the same as the square root. And then this is 8 over x cubed. Now let us look at this activity here, dear Lena. You can also be given a function in the form y is equal to x into x plus 2. So you first have to expand this bracket. So when you expand this bracket, you multiply in by x, you get x squared. You multiply that, you get 2x. So that now we have terms that have x. Because we are differentiating with respect to x, we then find the derivative by differentiating dy dx. It's going to be 2 times 1, which gives us 2. 2 minus 1 there, it's going to be x, so it's 2x. And then this is 1. 2x, 1 times 2 would give you 2. X raised to the power 1 minus 1, it's 1. So you get 2x plus 2. Let us look at more examples. So this one is more or less the same as the one that we did earlier on, where we have x minus 3 all over x squared. We said we'll rewrite this as individual functions and then write it in index form. So it's going to be x to the power negative 1 minus 3x to the power negative 2. So when we have it like this, we can then differentiate with respect to x. So we will multiply by negative 1 on this side to get negative 1. And then when we subtract 1, we get negative 2. So the first derivative is going to be minus x raised to the power negative 2. And then the second term here, when we differentiate it, it's going to be negative 2 times negative 6, which gives us positive 6. And then negative 2 minus 1 will give us minus 3. So the index is minus 3. And when we rewrite it, we give it in that particular form. Here is another example. So we have here 10x function. F of x is equal to 10x minus 6 over the square root of x. So which is going to be 10x minus 6 x raised to the power negative half. And then we differentiate, we are going to get 10 plus, because it's negative a half, times 6 plus 3 x raised to the power. So when we subtract 1 here, it's going to be minus 1 over 2 minus 1, which is the same as minus 2 over 2 when we are writing it to the same base. So minus 1 minus 2 gives us minus 3, and then this is going to be 10 plus 3x raised to the power negative 3 over 2. So when we give back our answer there, it's going to be 10 minus 3 over, this is the square root of x and then cubed. So that is our final answer there. And then another one example, it is x squared f of x is equal to x squared minus x raised to the power 1 over 3. So because this is given in powers of x, we simply differentiate, multiply by 2, and then we subtract 1 from the power, we get 2x minus, we multiply by the index here, which is 1 over 3, minus 1 over 3 x, and then we will subtract 1 here, we're going to get negative 2 over 3. So again, we can rewrite this as 2x minus 1 over 3 times 1 over the cube root, because now we have 3, the cube root of x squared. That was all, dear Lena. In our lesson today, we looked at how to differentiate polynomials involving positive, negative, and rational powers of the variables. And the most important thing we said, differentiation tells us about the rate of change, and it helps us to find the gradient of a curve at a particular point. I'll give Nogwazi this time.
Thank you so much, Ndingi, for your lesson, and we're hoping your Form 4s actually learned a lot about differentiation today, and we'll be seeing you soon, I'm sure.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you so much. Viewers at home, please do not go anywhere. Lerato and myself will be right back after this.
HIV kanye namalaleletha. Kubika Sibusiso Ngubane anamba ngwadube kaTomindaba kalavumisa. Government of Eswatini TV in LinkedIn kule namba ngwadube. Stemba bye.
Your favorite music show is back. We're bringing you the hottest music videos and live studio interviews with your favorite celebrities. We're giving you a front row seat to the latest fashion trends as well as your weekend gig guide. Join us live on social media and call in to send in your shout-outs. Catch This Weekend Eswatini every Friday at 5:30 p.m. live on Eswatini TV.
A very warm welcome back. Unfortunately, that was the last lesson for the day. If you have just joined us, where on earth have you been? How was your day today?
My day was fantastic, although we had maths the whole day, but then it was a really good day. How was your day today?
It was a good day, like you said, but my head is spinning. There was a lot of numbers today. But anyways, we're hoping that everybody back at home enjoyed their day today and they actually learned a lot today. So this is what tomorrow, which is a Friday, looks like for you guys. From 2 p.m. until 2:30 p.m. we have expressive art for the grades 1 and 2. From 2:30 p.m. until 3 p.m. we have science for the grades 3 and 4. From 3 p.m. until 3:30 p.m. we have English language for the grades 5 and 6. From 3:30 p.m. until 4 p.m. we have religious education for the Form 1s and 2. From 4 p.m. until 4:30 p.m. we have religious education for the Form 4s. And the last subject for the day is Eswati for the Form 4s from 4:30 p.m. until 5 p.m.
While we also have social media platforms, which are YouTube and Facebook, where we are live from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. And please do not forget to click that subscribe button so that whenever we are live, you get a notification.
Yes, thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in. We are going to see you guys tomorrow, 2 p.m. sharp, from us and the rest of the crew. Myself, Nogwazi, Nfombiye Malangeni, and Lerato, you will say it, of course.
Well, from me, Lirati Mpombia Gamputi, guys, and Mpombia Malangeni. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys for watching. Bye, guys.
Bye.